Okay, firstly, welcome. Today we will talk about data science in general. What is data science and how it started and how it's going and what really data science is in education and practice, and what is the difference between theory and practice and etc. I might share my screen and I might provide you some kind of, I also have some sort of the presentations too, but I would like to continue a little bit more about more like a conversation, because it's a very brief introduction and very superficial touch. And I would like to talk to you a little bit what is data science is. Firstly, data science is some kind of a combination of the statistics and computer science and the domain knowledge. You absolutely need a domain knowledge for data science. It means that if you're working for some kind of forestry or the agriculture, you need to know something about agriculture. But another thing is that if you didn't study computer science or any other technical studies or the engineering or electrical or electronical engineering, you should not be worried about it, because you can learn data science. Why it's like that? Why I'm talking about it? Because in human history, we never produced such amount of data before. Again, we haven't produced such amount of data before. So it's seriously very important phenomenon for all of us that we continuously cumulatively produce the data, and the data growth exponentially. This is a serious phenomenon because now we can understand and predict humans via data. And why it is important? It's important because now the business and the government needs data, not only business, also government. So now, instead of trying to estimating, instead of trying to guessing, both government and the companies started to predict and understand what will happen as an example. Any sort of, like the government, for example, instead of trying to judge and punish terrorists or the criminals, they started to focus on potential criminals. Of course, there's a trade-off between privacy and security, but now there's a serious phenomenon, there's a serious development that the government started to understand and to develop some much customized security policies. For example, who might be the potential terrorist and where the potential terrorist might attack, and etc., or the criminals, organized crimes, and etc. And other important thing is, by the way, it's same for the companies, but also the government started to develop their monetary policies, their development policies, and etc., according to the data. So this created the series phenomenon, series structure, and the series new understanding and a new approach for entire human life. What will happen is also started to be very applicable for the companies too, for the private industry too. In the past, the companies were trying to understand and develop a product and try to understand what's really happening or what might happen. They were mostly gambling. Now they're applying A and B test, hypothesis testing. It means that real-time analytics. So they need more and more the data. They need more and more data science. What does really mean? It means that now everything is started to be under not supervision, but everything started to be under kind of analysis. And this is a serious, very serious phenomenon. But another thing is that it started to create the huge differences between theory and practice. So the data science is basically, as a term, at the first time by John Tukey, it started to be used and developed in the 1970s. But normally, the data science became extremely popular only after 2000s. I would like to share my screen with you, and I would like to show you something a little bit. Let's see, 1 minute, please. Can you see my screen? Yeah, I guess you can. So what really, I will go a bit very quickly. I don't want to take so much time, but what is really data science is? Data science is theory and education. Data science in real world and practice, and the gap between theory and practice and case studies. I don't want to go over the presentation, because usually even when I'm lecturing and the lessons, I don't teach on, I don't like to teach everything while at the PowerPoint or any kind of the keywords or any kind of the presentation. I still see, just a second, please. Yeah, I don't like it. I want, and if any professors and if any lecturer tries to give you a lecture only via the PowerPoint, it's pretty boring and means that he's not really very well, right? But I want to explain to you a bit more. Okay, the data science is basically comes from in the term, and if you look at that, data science is the sexiest job in 21st century. What does it mean? First time in, I guess, in Harvard Business Review used this term in 2010. It's about the payments, because ordinary data scientists, and especially in the United States or Israel and all the countries, is making approximately between $100,000 to $250,000 a year, which means that it's a serious amount and a serious difference, which means that over $10,000 to $15,000 a month, almost to $20,000 a month. Sorry. Like, okay. So let's continue a bit more about the data science and the data. What you see this on the left side is here, the data, the amount of data and how it grows by the time. It's at a zillion, it's zettabytes, but it's a millions and millions of the petabytes. So if you look at another thing is in human history, and only after 2007, the data capabilities start to grow exponentially. And also here, you will see another thing, that on the right side, the differences between urban and the rural population. It means that since 2007, more people are living in urban and cities than rural. It's the first time, it's first time happened in human history. What does it mean? It means that first time in human history, more people live in the cities than the villages. So what does it mean? Why is it important if more people are living in cities? Because more people are producing in service or industries or the productions, and more people produce more data. More urban-based, more city-oriented people needs more data and produce more data, and they need to decide more about their life. Anytime when you're using even a mobile phone or your computer, or when you are shopping, or when you are watching even a television, you expose to data, but in the other hand, you produce the data. In the past, I guess until 2015, if you will be around the 2 hour, if you will stay 2 hours in the Twitter, you will become an asset. But now, currently, if you are over 20 minutes in Twitter or Facebook or any other social media, you also became an asset, because you also became a data generator. So you expose the data, but also you produce the data. And now this is the old approach, by the way, like computer science, math and statistics and domain knowledge. But in reality, it is more complex. In reality, the data science is a combination of quantitative studies and methodologies, computer science, and epistemological research and techniques and knowledge, which means that we need to have a really research techniques, and domain knowledge. This is my approach, basically. I will be explaining to you what data science is and what data science education is and how you can be data scientist after. And after, I would like to have your questions, of course. And if you have any questions, please write down and you can list your questions, or you can ask to Ms. Asabal, and probably I will try to answer as much as I can. Okay. First data science studies, like I told you, started in 1950 because first time in life, the computer came to the people's life. So we could automate and generate data, and we could start to get big data. Big data concept is also, by the way, changing, because big data is in 1970s, even the 4 megabyte data was a big data. Now, when we are talking about the big data, we are talking about the petabytes. Okay. And modern data science, as you see that first time John Tukey, it started in 1962. So it's a combination of basically the machine learning tool, it started in 1970s. So a lot of new concepts, maybe except for the deep learning, which is also developed in the early 2000s, is much, much, much more older. So we know the term, but these studies started over 50 years ago. So in the data science education and the theory, another thing is the data science educations, most of the data science educations are not very well established, and mostly they are more traditional. It means that some of the lectures are from the mathematics, computer science, or the statistics, and try to give you a basic understanding of the algorithms. But in reality, data science is much more than it. Much, much more than it. It's basically understanding a problem, trying to modelize it, and then creating a solution via data. That's basically data science, using data in order to understand and solve. But of course, we have an explanation and exploit trade-off, because the more you focus on explanation, you miss or you reduce exploit. It means prediction. The more you try to predict or exploit, you of course missing sometimes explanation. So you need to focus on, firstly, if you try to understand and explain, or if you want to predict. But in reality, you cannot really predict anything without understanding. For example, today, when you're trying to search anything, and when you try to buy anything from Amazon or any kind of a trade, a commerce website, or on any platform, in first 10 seconds, your character, while you click, how long you stay in any product, how many seconds you stay on the product, or from the between which product to which product you basically pass, and what is your journey. Your character will be analyzed, and you basically will be categorized. It means that all the customers, your probability that if you will purchase this product or not will be analyzed. I myself, my company, I have a company, by the way, and I developed an engine that one of my clients had a problem, and I developed an engine that if the customer will charge back or not, it means that with over 80% recall, it means the true positive rate to understand, we can understand if the customer will return to product or not. It's very impressive, because before I start that project, I didn't think that it will be so possible. So the company, my client, is losing approximately $800,000 a year because of chargebacks. Now we almost reduced it to from 800 to approximately 200 or $180,000. It means that this algorithm contributed to the company annually over around $650,000, maybe $700,000, and it will develop more. So this is very impressive. Because of the confidentiality, I cannot go over so much about this project, but I was very impressed how the very simple machine learning solution could contribute such an amazing solution, and could create such an amazing solution. Okay, let's continue a bit. Please. Yeah. Okay, and now another thing is, by the way, which you need to understand and to consider. You should be very careful when you learn data science. Why I'm telling you about it? Because you need to understand before you start with data science career, you need to search and understand what do you want to learn and what is your focus. Do you want to be analyst? Because, by the way, data sciences or data scientist is a very big and very general concept. You need to understand that there are different categories: analyst, data engineer, data analyst, data engineer, business analyst, data analyst, machine learning engineer, and data scientist. And there are many different categories. So you need to understand, you need to focus on what is your focus. Again, it can be a very good opportunity for you also, by the way, currently immigrating to other countries. For example, United Kingdom started a technician program from Australia, New Zealand, United States, and many countries are just accepting you if you have a data scientist certification or if related tech-oriented certification, because there's a lack of the technical people. You can get directly the visa, working visa, and permanent residency. These are serious things, and you can basically, I don't want to sell you a dream, it's very real. You can probably make per month over $10,000 to $12,000, but you cannot learn data science in 6 months because there are many courses, many internet courses. They try to sell you a dream that you can be data science in 6 months and you can make a lot of money. That is true, you can make a lot of money with data science, but you cannot learn data science in 6 months, and you need a very, very strong mathematical background. And by the way, it's a really composite science. Okay. And the data science departments, there are many data science departments in Israel. I myself, as an Israeli, I live in the Technion and the Tel Aviv universities are very good in it. But in the world, the MIT is the most successful data science department. It's in Turkey. There are many we TED, and basically here we already have in the TED and the data science department, and we try to provide you much deeper inside as possible as we can. So what is my approach? For example, if you speak with some of my students, I try to prepare my students the real world, because now mostly, okay, you can learn electronic engineering or computer science without working in the industry. Or you can learn economics without working in the industry and only purely in academic, but you cannot learn data science only in the academy. So you absolutely need to have a contact or the applicable relationship, applied studies, and you need to contact in absolutely in the industry. That's the most important thing. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, let's continue with that. Okay, now I want to explain to you some also companies. They have their own data science schools. It means that they train their own employees, plus they train people and they employ them. Yandex is one of them, which I got a scholarship, and I also studied with them. Google, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, and IBM. So this is very important. You also need to understand that the companies started to get more successful than traditional universities, and companies started to get more cooperation. They start to cooperate with the universities. MIT is one of the biggest company, and also, for example, in IBM, the Watson project is developed by both MIT, Harvard, also even the Technion in Israel, Technion and Tel Aviv University involved. Okay, there are a lot of toolbox for the data science, by the way, what you need to learn. And first, you need to learn Python very well, because there is some and SQL. You cannot you cannot be data scientist without good SQL knowledge, structured query language. Python, and Tableau, or any BI solutions. The three main software are the most important thing. They're must, and also you have very deep Excel knowledge and related to spreadsheet knowledge. And then you can start to learn different libraries. And each libraries were built on each other. For example, pandas were built on NumPy. NumPy was developed in 1995. And others, for example, like if you now look at the TensorFlow and Keras combined. So the PyTorch was developed on the NumPy. So these are very, very important things. And if you look at the languages, the Python is getting much more popular. So after some time, you might get some kind of crossroads between the R and Python. I recommend you to focus on Python because Python is the much larger community, more solutions. We don't know if in the future the Julia will replace Python or not, but however, I highly recommend you to learn and understand Python very much indeed. Let's continue. Okay, this is a typical CRISP-DM, like the CRISP-DM cross-industry standard process for data mining process. But you need to understand there's a two main approach, agile approach and CRISP-DM approach. It means that you need to understand, sometimes you need to know there's not one solid approach. Sometimes you need to understand and solve the problem. Sometimes you need to be organic part of the problem, and you can only continue, you can only develop a solution in the problem. So your also solution changes according to the problem, but you need to understand how to apply this approach. Okay, let's continue. Data science life cycle. This is another thing. I don't want to continue so much and so deep in this kind of things, but it's very important to understand data science concept, because data science means basically what and how you want to predict and understand, and how you try to understand the phenomenon and to create a solution. Okay, and now let's see. Okay, the gap between theory and practice. Okay, so what I want to tell you, which is very important, the theory and practice can be so different sometimes that it can create huge losses. And here I would like to give you some real case and some real life examples. Why? Because these examples are very painful experiences, and companies lose billions, not millions, billions. So why it happens? Because the data is not information. It means that it's a huge and deeper subject, and usually I keep my first one, two, or sometimes the 3 classes for that specific structure, for example. And as in, how many, let's say, as an example, how many birds in Ankara, or how many birds are living in, or how many peoples are living in New York or Tel Aviv or Yerushalayim is a data, right? But how many people are living in any city, like in Ankara, New York, Melbourne, or any other countries, or Tel Aviv, Melbourne, whatsoever, but how many are there, men or women, and what they prefer, or if they want to continue to live in that city or not, or if they're happy from their life, or how many percentages of are them happy living in that city or not, is information. And then if the people what about they're happy and what they're not happy about it is a knowledge. And wisdom is to use that knowledge, information, and data. So you need to know the terminology very well in order to get inside and in order to understand what the phenomenon is and how you can use it. you can basically manipulate, not only understand and predict people's behavior, you can also manipulate people's behavior. So that's we start to call about data ethics. It means that only with personalizing and creating a standard recommendation system, like we are using already on Netflix, Amazon, I don't know, Disney Plus, and any platform, I guess in Turkey, Exxon or whatsoever. What you do, you are, according to what you see, what you watch, the platform start to recommend you some sort of movies, right? Or some sort of series, movies whatsoever. So it is a recommendation of some sort of advise you some sort of a new movies that you might like it. But in reality, it doesn't look like that, because you can use this kind of algorithm to direct people. For example, when you start, let's say you are voting for the political party, like let's say nationalist liberal party whatsoever. You like it, but an algorithm start to show you all, because all political parties or political party supporters or having positive and negative behaviors. So then you start to see with the negative approaches. For example, let's say you don't like, the algorithm can understand you don't like, let's say the specific phenomenon, you don't like violence, and you start to see violence and violence related news about that political party. It means that it might change your behavior, or you, let's say you are focusing on immigration, like a popular phenomenon in Turkey, you focus on immigration issue and you are not happy with immigration to Turkey. So it's very, and you basically like, or you see, you don't need to like, how many seconds you watch is also important. Let's say you are very sensitive about the subject. And when algorithm understands you are very sensitive about the subject, and then you will start to see the B political party, let's say Liberal Democrat Party, or the Liberals Party, or let's say Nationalist Party, or let's say New Party, whatsoever, you'll start to see that party's news with that related subject. And then your behavior, slowly by slowly, will move to that approach. The Cambridge Analytica was, this scandal was mostly about analyzing analyzing the people, the voters, the behavior. But now the structure changed more and evaluated a bit more. It's become to the level that manipulating voters' behavior. I don't want to go to that level a bit more, but basically human behaviors are really, really predictable. And believe me, you will be very amazed and very surprised if you know that how it is very, very predictable. Okay. Another thing is a fact, that's the important thing. So you cannot develop any model. I didn't speak about the modeling because models are simpler versions, simple prototypes of the real world, simpler versions of the real world. So you cannot develop a data science solution without models. This is an important issue, but you cannot develop any model also without the hypothesis testing. And hypothesis testing is not really just T or the Z test or the A and B test or the chi-square test. There's tens of different hypothesis testing. So you cannot test, you need to learn how to test an idea scientifically. Only then you can develop a model, and via the model you can explain the phenomenon in real life, and then you can predict it in life. There are many mistakes about it. We can discuss about it. By the way, this is the AI approaches, NLP, computer vision, or machine learning, and deep learning, structural learning. I don't want to go through this a bit more. These are the deep learning, mostly about network structures, and I don't want to go to network structures so much. I want to go through a little bit case studies. I will talk to you about the case studies a little bit more. Look, bias are very important. It means there are always bias. There are always variance and bias. We also have the bias variance trade-off. I don't want to go through this kind of technical things, but that is very, 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 very important to understand to the biases. And most of the bias are human biases. What does it mean? Most of the time, the machine learning models create the mistakes or the errors or create the catastrophic results because of bias. That's very important. And the bias are usually, most of the time, about the data scientists, unfortunately, without a lack of statistical and mathematical background of the domain knowledge. And unfortunately, over 75%, almost 80% of the data project and the data science projects fails. Again, over 80% data science projects fails, mostly lack of hypothesis testing, lack of hypothesis and scientific approach and scientific understanding. Okay, let's start now. Okay, let's start that paradoxes. Let's see that. I want to show you. We see that. What's okay. That's very important because if you look at that here, you see that it's like only the going, only what's happening there? Yeah. One minute, please. Okay. Okay. What I see here, you see that in there? If you, this is important, how do you look at the phenomenon? How do you try to understand the phenomenon? Why? Because if you look at it here, the data is going, there's a negative correlation. If you look at the aggregate the data without segmentation, you see the negative approach in there. But in reality, if you cluster the data, and if you go to the segmentation, you see the positive relation, the positive correlation. So you need to understand the relationship. In order to understand the relationship, you also need to learn how to look at how to think outside of the box. This is mostly I try to teach my students. And another thing is that if you want to be a good data scientist, you need not just education, you need the mentorship. You need, what is mentor? Someone who is more experienced than you, because you cannot make all the mistakes yourself alone. You need to learn from somebody's mistakes. And now at last slide, I want to show you some examples. These are very important. Please take a note. And these examples are important. One of them is the New York State Police Department case, Compass Project. IBM Watson case is important, and another is the Zillow project problem. So both cases. Creators think that the structure the machine can learn from the WhatsApp. Is developed by the Microsoft. What they try to do that, they try to understand human behavior with an NLP, and they try to develop some sort of algorithm which will learn from the human conversation and will help the children to interact. Basically, they try to develop a tool for the children, an algorithm which will talk to children. And they used the wrong platform, the Twitter, in order to predict and understand human behavior. What really happened? Well, what really happened is very racist, very chauvinist, and very, very negative personality appear, because the machine learning, machine directly learn being extremely racist and extremely chauvinist and extremely unkind, rude from the Twitter and social media. So basically they plagued it out. Another thing is, which is very important, is Amazon project. What really happened in Amazon? They tried to evaluate the CVs and the resumes, CVs, the human, and when they're employing people, from the machine learning from the past trained data. We basically, when we are applying superficial learning, we are trained and test groups. But very weirdly, what really happened, as an example, for example, it happens, by the way, the Compass project too, in New York Post State Department, Amazon, more because there's more people are male, more people are white. The system automatically, because white people and the male people have better education. Why? Because they have a better conditions in life. And the system directly starts to reject the people are usually not white and not male. They start to give the weight if someone is white and male, automatically they start to get an advantage in the system. It's a human behavior, not very ethical, but human behavior. So machine start to mimic directly the human behavior. This is basically lack of hypothesis testing. So this is a really serious, important case. Another thing is, it really happened in the New York Police Department, which we call Compass Project. What really happened in Compass Project, you can't believe that the system start to analyze past criminal data. So, and they I guess provided over 1 million criminal cases and the criminals, and the system analyzed the criminals. So if someone is from the poor neighborhood or the problematic neighborhood, and if the person is mostly the black, because more black people are have a crime record because they have biases. So unfortunately, especially in, like, if you think 1950s, 60s, 70s, the more people leave the problem, and the system, more black people had in the database. The systems directly start to automatically detect any black person is potential criminal. So of course it sounds horrible, but without a good hypothesis testing, without understanding the data, you always create this kind of problems. So that is basically what will happen. But before that, I want to take you to Zillow. Please check how Zillow lose $500 million. By the way, the real lose is, I guess, over $1 billion. And you can see that how it really happened. This is a really very serious, because Zillow had the most developed, and the most trained data scientist team in the world. But it ended up so tragically, we don't know yet, but the company might bankrupt. Sorry, I use multiple screens, so when I'm looking there, I'm looking at that screen by the way. Okay, you can look at this kind of things, right? Everybody talks about this, is a pretty hot topic. Let's look at that. Okay, look at that case. This is the reason in my students, when I'm training my students, I try to, and I have students from all around the world, from Germany, Turkey, Israel, United States, Canada, Australia, whatsoever. I try to explain them very much in deep. So TechCrunch and Wall Street, it's much better. So if you look at them, you will be able to see, and you will be able to understand how it's a serious issue. So without the testing, without scientific testing, this is the reason I'm teaching in TED University. By the way, I have another course, I guess, Advanced Applied Testing Techniques. So ADS 556 and 557. So without proper hypothesis testing, you cannot develop a model. If you develop a model, you end up like that, with huge losses. Okay, if you see that, how you listen. They estimate over 5 billion, but huge extreme losses. And you can see this kind of things in almost everywhere. Okay, so now I want to start to explain to you that is data science world. There will be more jobs, and of course the industry will need more people. By the way, you need to understand some things, such as, like, there are some laid off Okay, that's true. But another important thing is that it might be some layoff, that's true for now, but it's only at a cycle. It means that the next few years, there will be much more employment opportunities. There will be much more new opportunities. So you absolutely need to understand, and you absolutely need to get the concept, and you absolutely need to think about what you really want and in which specific subject you want to advance your career. So if you have any question, you can always directly contact me from LinkedIn or from, I don't know, my email, or you can directly try to contact me. And if you need anything, I will try to do my best. But firstly, you need to understand what is data science. If you are ready for this training, because this journey will be a few years, and what you want to really learn and what is your focus, and then look at the places how you can learn, because it's a customized process, and it's not just about the education. You cannot just go to one master program and learn data science. It will take blood, tear, and sometimes the sweat. It will take you so long, lots of times. And okay, so basically this is data science, and this is very exciting and new project, but it's not just like in 6 months you can learn and start to get millions. It doesn't work like that. But if you really focus on this, you can most probably and potentially you can get a really good career path. Okay, is there any questions, and is there anything you want to ask me? And maybe you can ask Mrs. Asli, or she can ask me the question, or you can directly ask. She can let you know. She can let you, she can unmute you. Yes, please. I want to leave you, Mrs. Asli, I want to leave you the questions. Yes, please.
Emre Hocam, thank you for exciting and interesting presentation. Have any question? I am sharing a link for TED University students. Please click this link. I'm sharing now. Wait a minute. Yes. And then I will share a link 1 minute later for mini feedback form. Is everybody see this link? Why?
Yeah, it's to everyone.
Why button? Again.
I'm sending again. I'm resending, I guess.
Okay.
Yes.
This question is for you, I think, Emre Hocam. Neslihan Pelin Metin.
Yeah. Are there any resources that you can recommend for us to deeply understand the data science? There are many resources, but I want to start. It depends on your level. If you are a beginner level, basically, if you're beginner level, I prefer you. I advise you to go and try to search about what are the very beginning level. Yeah, that book might be very good for you. It's a Joel Grus. He's a great guy, and he's a really great data scientist. This book will help you. Data science from scratch. If you are a beginner, if you are not beginner, and if you have some sort of mathematical background, if you already have mathematical background, I highly recommend you, after you get calculus 2, calculus 3, I mean, really good calculus, I recommend you Judea Pearl, the book of why. Because why? When we get a kind of a model, when we try to when we tested the subject, we understand only what, but it is very important to also understand why. So mathematics, the correlation doesn't give you why. For example, you can build a correlation between ice cream sales and the shark attacks. There's a high correlation. When people buy more ice cream, there is a more shark attacks on the seas. But the reason is because of it's a summer, because in summer, more people go to sea and more people buy ice cream. The real things is they hide it behind. So instead of only a correlation, we use mutual information or other external parameters. So you need to understand this. And another thing for the modeling, David Spiegelhalter, he was the head of the Royal Statistical Society in the United Kingdom, British. So I highly recommend you that book, The Art of Statistics. It's a really great and it's really good sources. So if you are a beginner, most probably I assume you're a beginner, I recommend you these books. Yeah, but then I recommend you search for a good master education, master of science, and you can get a master of science with a good domain knowledge for. Yes, let me see others. Are people can people be successful on data career who have academic background from social science? Yes, of course. I have social science background. I am economist, but not only economist. I have some 2 more degrees. But if you have a social science, sociology, for example, network analytics is a very serious issue. You can understand which person is linked to which person, or which specific problem will grow in the society, and etc. If you have a social sciences, you have more potential in data science, by the way, because you have a strong domain knowledge. Are the alternatives? Is data science possible from the electronics department? Okay, it is possible, and most probably you might shift to machine learning engineering in the end, but it is possible, but you need to learn also domain, you need to have a domain knowledge. You need to also study about the domain knowledge too. Yeah, blockchain industry is not limited only with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There is, of course, there's a data science, not only in blockchain, many different many different processes. Yes, there is a feature in this. Can you write the names of the books in the chat? Yes, I can. The Art of Statistics, the book of why, Idea Pearl by Idea Pearl. And the art of statistics, and from David, the art of statistics by David. And data science from scratch by Georgus. Okay, I did it. What are the questions? Can you write? Okay. It felt like the work of an economist and the data scientist was very similar. Not really, not really. You can be amazed how many of the economists have no idea about the data. Like, yeah, not really. Thank you, Bevakasha. Okay. Biblical why did they call? Okay, I made some typo, by the way, sorry. Okay, sure. What are the most popular fields of the data science outside of, okay, so what's of the, okay, I'm reading. So what are the most popular fields of the data science outside of the economics? For example, biology act, if you want to study data analysis in field like biology, do I really need advanced biology knowledge? If you want to focus on, yeah, there's by the way, bioinformatics, there's a specific department for this, data science and biology. Yes, especially pharmaceutical companies are using this. So you need the biology and also pharmacology, pharmacologic technologies, information and knowledge. And yes, if you especially work for the pharmaceutical companies or the health industry, you absolutely need it. You need it. Okay. Thank you. What do you think about online certificate programs? Are they fulfill it depends on. It seriously depends on, but mostly if any online courses or any online platform tells you that you can be data scientist in 6 months, 7 months, it's most probably it's not. It's not true. Yes, please. Any other questions? Okay, I guess we get all the questions, right? Mrs. Spal? What do you think? You're welcome.
Yes, I think we will repeat this event next month because over 300 students. Our limit is 300 actually. And
Yeah.
Era,
And
yes.
I want
It's
to say you.
Teams include our limits? Do you know, Emre Hocam? Microsoft Teams?
As far as I know, no, because I made some kind of too, but it might have different versions, but we can also use any platform. But I want to say something, guys. It's very important. You need to find the true place to study data science and true mentors for the data science, and you need to get for more approaches. And if you have any questions, if you really want to learn data science, and if you really want to have any questions, write me. I will try to answer as much as I can. But I highly recommend you to focus on hypothesis testing and the test concepts, because now and it's very important, especially not only basic, advanced. This is, I guess, my course. I teach in this advanced hypothesis testing. It's very important because, as you see, that I didn't go over that subject, but without an hypothesis testing, you can get very, very wrong results and you can cause huge damages. These are very important. And if you want to learn data science, you need to speak with some really good, experienced data scientist and who knows what he's doing, and you can get the advice from them. And you need to really, really make a career plan, and you need to choose what you want to learn, because it's so large, so big, so deep area. You need to prioritize what you really want to learn. And if you ask some more, you can please speak. I can repeat the seminar, or if you, what do you want to learn, if you please contact with Ms. Bal. And if you ask some specific question, I can customize the next seminar according to your questions or your requirement or your needs or requests. Thank you very much. I'm closing now, stop recording for here. And if you have more questions, you're more than welcome. You can always ask to us.
Thank you.